The views and opinions expressed on Breakthrough are solely of the host, guest, and callers, and it does not reflect Spreaker, its company, or its parent company. Breakthrough is not responsible for any outcome of a reading. Breakthrough show is for entertainment purposes only. You're listening to Breakthrough with AJ Barrera and Jennifer Musel. So sit back, relax, and get inspired. Are you ready for a breakthrough?
Good evening. Welcome to the show. You're listening to Breakthrough with AJ Barrera and my lovely co-host.
This is Jennifer. How are you guys doing tonight?
Thank you for tuning in to the show. And what is love? We are going to be talking about love. We are going to be connecting with people, with their loved ones who have passed on. If they're boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever it is, we are going to make that special connection with you. Also, we'll be taking those calls of those who have relationship problems as well. We have Valentine's tomorrow.
Yes, it's very appropriate that we will be speaking of love tonight. And we would like to know what you think love is, and also how you show love, also with any relationships, because you don't necessarily have to be in a relationship to be, actually rather to have a Valentine for Valentine's Day tomorrow, because you can love yourself. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely. And, you know, we have dogs and animals and pets that show nothing but unconditional love. So love is always there. It's about how it's being shown or how it's being received, if you will, or being given, in these different ways. And I do believe that love is shown in many different ways. If it's from spirit, if it's from our animals, our partners, our family, our friends. Again, you do not have to be in a relationship to be loved or to be shown love. Love is expressed in many different ways.
Yes, that is the truth there. And if you define love, if I pull out the Webster's dictionary here, it says that love is a strong affection or liking for someone or something, a passionate affection of one person for another, the object of such affection, a sweetheart, a lover. And we will be coming to you with the thesaurus on what love is as well, because I do remember when I was young, and I asked my father, what is love? And he had me bring out the dictionary, and I remember how long the explanations and excerpts of the definition of love, it just went on and on and on and on and on. I think there was like 40 different definitions. So we're talking about love tonight. What is love to you? Are you looking for love? Do you want to shout from the rooftops that you're in love? We want to hear about it tonight.
Absolutely. And here's the part about it is that we are going to give that call number out at the top of the hour here. So it's area code 424
288-7004. Once again, that's 424-288-7004. You can also chat with us if you are on the Spreaker app. Go ahead and send in your messages to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And you know what is love? You know, love is a force of nature, and obviously that's a part of us that we are driven through. And if it's a love for a job, a love for another person, you know, we cannot command it, and sometimes we demand it at the same time. And oftentimes that love disappears in our life more often than others, if you will. And I think we just have to pay attention to the love that we are getting. And again, I think sometimes we search for that love in different outlets or different places, and we really realize that, you know what, yeah, why am I always dating the same girl, the same guy, or the same situation? And we always fall back in the same cycle. And I don't think because we're truly loving ourselves, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest part, is that we got to love ourselves first before we can love anyone else.
Most definitely. How could you really know what love is if you don't love yourself? And I know it's a cliche or hypothetical question, but it does start with us. You know, if you don't break the pattern, or if you're not noticing that there's a pattern, some people like people who are emotionally unavailable, for example. For whatever reason, they've learned that. So if you're not breaking the cycle and you come into a pattern, then what is love? Are you overlooking what your values are and what your principles are for the idea to be in a relationship? Because it's really not worth it. At the end of the day, you have to love and lose anyway. So why not start with loving yourself and then knowing what love is so that you can show that to other people?
Agree. And love is part of our natural instinct. You know what I mean? It's like thirst. It's like hunger. It's like food, you know? It's like it's naturally there. So we're always like, okay, I'm hungry. Okay, I love this. I want this. I love that. You know what I mean? So we're always going into different areas. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love those shoes. Why don't you marry it?
Right. As my little sister would say, you know? So, and I wouldn't say I would love those shoes, though. But
you wouldn't?
No.
You definitely wouldn't say, oh, those shoes are cute either, right?
No.
If I look into the thesaurus, what does that say for love? let's see here. It says basically tons of things. To become enamored, to love someone else, to not love, not for love or money. I don't know what this, I mean, I could really bore you for all the definitions, but you should check it out because there are a lot of explanation. It could be a kiss. It could be to make love. It could be to admire. It could be passionate devotion, respect. That's a good one. Respect.
Absolutely.
Showing respect is love. I like that. Let's see here. It says for the love of food.
Oh, see what I just said? There.
Okay. Infatuation, yearning, a flame. Okay. So if you're talking about a rapture or a flame, a desire, devotion, that can seem to fade if you're not paying attention to it.
Well, yeah, I think sometimes that we surrender love subconsciously. You know what I mean? I think we give into the ghost, if you will, or give into the spirit or whatever the situation is, and we realize that it overpowers in more ways than once, and sometimes we are tricked by it, or we're influenced by other things, by unpredictable things, or being irritated by things in a love situation. And I think some of us need to just kind of find the loving people, and those loving people could be your family, your friends, coworkers, things of that nature. It doesn't mean that you have to be in a relationship with these people, but you got to know that you're being loved, because oftentimes that people that sit with me or speak with them over the phone, they're looking for that one thing. Did my mom love me? Did my brother love me? Or did my husband or my wife, and just because they did not get that I love you, sometimes they're always searching for that, and sometimes they're stuck in a cycle where they repeat the same cycle of dating the same guy, and they feel like they cannot move on because they never got healing or peace from that prior death or from that prior relationship. It doesn't mean the person has to be passed over. It just means that they got to move past the situation. And I think that's the hardest part with people, is that they need to come to terms with it. And I think some of us are not to terms with our past.
Yeah, I think that's probably a main issue, for the lack of better words, that we carry over to a lot of different things in our lives. But there are also 5 different languages of love as well. There's a book that's written, it's called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And before, I'll just break it down to you and not get into great detail, but there is one language of love, which is words of affirmation. Another language of love is quality time. Mm-hmm. Another language of love is gifts.
Oh, I love gifts. I like presents.
Another language of love is acts of service. And number 5 for languages of love is... Acts
of service? What?
Physical touch. And so do you know how to determine your love? I think my love might be... Well, it could be all of them, of course, but gifts maybe? I'm not really sure. We'll have to delve into that together with each other. But also, letting someone cry, for example, could be a sign of love. So there's lots of different ways that you can break down love.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, a couple of ways that love happens with a lot of people. It's like with the whole thing with Cupid, you get hit by an arrow, all of a sudden you fall in love. It's like lightning. All of a sudden lightning hits, and all of a sudden it happens, and you're all like, la la la, I'm here. But most of the time, love plays upon of our own fears and desires that we're looking for. And I think sometimes we got to pay attention to the things that we are lacking, because we want to see them in someone else. And the things that we hate in someone else is the things that we hate upon of ourselves. So
I totally agree with that. Also, the relationships, if we're talking about that, and love, we can get really caught up in our own issues, like what you're saying, and then start to see almost like a mirror image of your own issues, but then you're kind of blaming the other person, your other party in your relationship. So it's kind of nice to kind of take a step back and assess the situation and see if maybe you're being too strict, a little out of line, not being fair, are you being stubborn, those kind of things. So love for me definitely falls into the category of being consistent, but I also have to find the patterns of other people's way of showing me love as well.
Well, absolutely. Well, love is not bought. It's not sold. It's not traded. You know what I mean? It's not part of that situation. I think a lot of us, kind of feel like we can be bought by a situation, or what do you call it, manipulated in a certain way, saying, okay, if this person does X, Y, Z for me, maybe I can live in a great place. Or if this person has,
okay, see where you're going with that.
So we are triggered by certain areas in our life by motives, and those motives, are they true motives for love, or is it just because you just want to help yourself in the situation? And I think the hardest part is for the other person on the other hand, is that they get hurt in the situation. They get hurt on like what's going to happen next, because they don't know, is that the person who's falling for this person with the wrong motives already knows what they're doing and what their plan is. The other person doesn't. So they're going into this relationship blind and unexpected, as a person who's there for the wrong motives are doing it for the wrong motives. So there's a plan, or something's in a sense predetermined. You get me?
Okay, so you make a good point, but this is something that I've always asked you about, because the first time I ever heard you say that everyone has a motive, I was offended. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like I don't have motives. All I have is to love. Yeah. I really feel that, to be nice. Of course we all get on our bad side or things bother us, but I always feel like if I show love and if I give second chances and all those things, that's love. But if someone doesn't understand that as my love, and then they see something is lacking, if you don't communicate that, or if you don't set your standards or expectations or talk about certain things, I think it would be kind of hard to determine whether or not your definition of love is lining up with the other party.
Absolutely. And same, here's a little story, a little insight story, a personal story with me and Jennifer. Many years ago, it's about the little things for me that count. It's not the big thing. It's not about the gifts. It's not about, something going on a trip or any of that nature. It's the little things that count for me. And, when Jennifer and I were dating in the very beginning, I don't even know if it was the very beginning. It was probably maybe a year or two into the relationship. But, she ended up moving in with me and whatnot after some time. And I came home from clients and whatnot, out and about, and I come home and she put all these little sticky notes, like Post-its, all over the room, of random act of kindness, and saying, I love your coffee, I love your toast, I love the way you kiss me, I love the way, all these little things were like, oh my God, like, this is really nice. Did
that really
cool.
stand out to you that much? This is the first time you're talking about it.
No, it did. And I think I still
really?
kept a lot of those little sticky notes,
yeah,
too.
I think they're in a stack somewhere in the abyss of
papers.
I do love your coffee.
Yeah, right. I do love the toast. No, but those are the little things that count. And that was her way of expressing love, maybe of knowing it or not knowing it. But it was a huge thing for me that was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And something that small can really go a long way. And I think that's one thing that I love about her, is that she does the little things. And for me, like, it's not about like going out and buying, again, a gift or something of that nature. And she
I always felt like the value of a gift or whatever. I tend to give expensive gifts.
Yeah.
and I don't expect it back necessarily, but I also don't always think that I'm aware of the value of maybe a different kind of gift.
Absolutely. And I think gifts come in many different ways. And
Definitely.
I think that's one thing we were talking about before going on the show, is that a gift can be, someone cooking you dinner, could be their way of expressing love, could be their respect, could be their long-term marriage with you. I mean, love ain't cheap, you know what I mean? Especially when you're married, especially when you're married. I mean, you got alimony, bills, you got kids, divorce, I mean, all this good stuff. So love is not cheap in certain situations unless you truly stick with it. And don't stick with love just because you feel like, oh, I have to pay, the piper, in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, because what is love really at that point?
Yeah, and it's hard to describe. I mean, everyone has their own opinion, their own expressions of what love is. And I think, people that are on the show, in the chat room right now, that are calling in the show, keep calling, keep sending in your messages. We are here reading them. We are going to be taking your calls again. And if you want to give out the phone number one more time off the top of the hour.
It is, are you ready? It's 424-288-7004.
Yeah,
and there's a message. Can I read it? This Absolutely. Is so sweet. Marion Billington says, I knew a couple when I was a home health nurse, and you could feel the love between them when you entered their home. Wow. I just got chills.
So did I. That's pure energy. That's pure love. And for someone who's maybe not even sensitive to it, or just maybe sensitive to just energy, it's amazing. I know me and Jennifer are raising our arms here. It's just amazing.
The hairs on my arms are standing straight.
And that's how strong love is.
I mean, it is. I think
that's what Otis Redding said. That's
how strong his love is?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You got to look up that song if you've never heard it. It's by Odie. No, it's by Otis Redding. That's How Strong My Love Is. Amazing song. We would intro into a lot of these shows if we could use music, but we kind of can't technically. So
unless I get permission from the people and whatnot, that's the only way we can use it. And I don't want to get taxed or
and this is the difference between he and I, because I'm like, well, who's listening anyway? So you know what I mean? Like to the part where they would be
with my luck
telling, right? I think there's a symbol of love or sign of love and affection from you, AJ. I remember I wasn't feeling good one morning, and somehow before you went to work, You managed to go to the store and buy the entire medicine cabinet from the shelf, left it to my bedside and said, here's some saltine crackers. Oh, the saltine crackers